Hey guys, James here with another Civ 6 Historical Spotlight, helping you to understand the historical background behind your favorite civs in the game. This time, I will be focusing on the new civ Ethiopia. Ethiopia is of course the newest civilization in the Civ 6 Frontier Pass, and they're making a triumphant return to the series, this time being led by Menelik II. As with all of the other historical spotlight videos, please excuse any of my terrible pronunciation, and please let me know if I might have made any mistakes in interpreting Ethiopia's history. Now before we dive into Menelik's life, let's take a quick look at the history of Ethiopia, as well as some of their unique abilities. Ethiopia is thought to be one of the earliest sites of the emergence of humans, with the famous Australopithecus skeleton, Lucy, having been found in the region. The earliest records of Ethiopian civilization dates as far back as the Bronze Age, where the Egyptian pharaoh, Queen Hatshepsut, sent a trade delegation to the land of Punt, which was thought to be to the south of the Nubian or Kush Empire. The earliest known kingdom to rise to power in the area was the kingdom of Damat in the 10th century BC, but we actually don't know too much about them. They were succeeded by various kingdoms, but the first verifiable great power was the kingdom of Aksum, which is thought to have first started growing around the 4th century BC, later becoming a true empire by around 100 AD. This brings us to Ethiopia's civilization ability. Ethiopia's civilization ability, Aksumite Legacy, grants +1 faith from improved resources. International trade routes grant an additional 0.5 faith for each resource in the origin city. It also allows you to purchase archaeologists and archaeological museums with faith. This bonus could be derived from the fact that the kingdom of Aksum is thought to have been a trading empire, with religion playing a major part in its development, which explains the faith bonuses on resources and trade routes. Early on, the Aksumites were a polytheistic society. However, they may have received some influence from Judaism, as according to Ethiopian cultural legend, the kingdom of Aksum were descendants of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba of Old Testament fame. This connection to Solomon becomes very significant through Ethiopian history. So then, in 324 AD, the king Ezana II was converted to Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity, along with the rest of the empire, making it one of the very first Christian states in the world. Eventually, the Aksum kingdom would slowly fall, which led to the rise of the Zegwe dynasty in around 1000 AD. It was during this dynasty, King Lalibela had 11 rock-hewn churches built in the aptly named city of Lalibela. He did this in an attempt to recreate the city of Jerusalem, following the capture of the holy city. Each of these churches was carved from a single piece of rock, meant to symbolize spirituality and humility. These churches are used in Civ 6 as Ethiopia's unique tile improvement. The Rock-Hewn Church can only be built on hills or volcanic soil tiles, which is likely a reflection on Ethiopia's terrain being largely plateaus and mountains. The improvement provides a base +1 faith, as well as an additional +1 faith for every adjacent mountain and hills tile. They also provide tourism after flight is researched, as well as appeal. To this day, the churches are still used in worship and prayer, with many Ethiopians also believing that the legendary Ark of the Covenant is kept in one of these churches. After the Zegwe dynasty came the Solomonic Dynasty, who, similar to the kingdom of Aksum, claimed to be descendants of King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, giving further credence to the civilization ability, Aksumite Legacy. The Solomonic dynasty's power would vary through time, as they often found themselves at war with Islamic powers. Later, as Ethiopian peoples became more intermingled, this also led to a period known as the Age of Princes, the equivalent of a warring states period in Ethiopian history. Eventually, Ethiopia was united by King Tewodros II. This brings us to the story of Menelik II. Saleh Maryam, later known as Menelik II, was born in 1844 in the region of Shewa, which was one of the warring states of Ethiopia. After Tewodros unified Ethiopia, Menelik was taken as a ward. However, Tewodros and Menelik actually had a sort of father-son relationship, to the point where Tewodros allowed Menelik to marry his daughter. Despite this relationship, Menelik was eventually broken out of his prison and returned to Shewa to claim himself king of Shewa. Due to being ghosted by Queen Victoria, Tewodros imprisoned some British residents, leading to a small invasion of Ethiopia by the Brits, whereby Tewodros commits suicide in order to avoid capture. King Johannes IV came into power afterwards, but was subsequently killed in battle. This is when Menelik proclaimed himself the Emperor of Ethiopia, of course citing his Solomonic lineage. He worked to obtain the loyalty of important rulers in the area, while conquering those who did not submit. Early on in his rule, Menelik signed a treaty with the Italians, giving them northern Ethiopia. However, based on the Ethiopian translation of the treaty, Menelik was under the impression that Ethiopia was to be recognized as its own state. On the other hand, the Italian translation stated that Ethiopia was actually a vassal of Italy. This, of course, led to conflict, and the Italians subsequently attacked Ethiopia. Having learned from the downfall of Tewodros, Menelik was very intelligent and obtained weapons from the also Orthodox Christian Russia. At the Battle of Adwa, a united Ethiopian force of maybe as many as 100,000 soldiers stomped the Italian force of around 15,000. Among the 100,000 Ethiopian troops were the Oromo Cavalry, Ethiopia's unique unit. The Oromo Cavalry replaces the courser, having no movement penalty on hills, again, probably a reflection of Ethiopia's geography. They also have better sight range and higher combat strength. The Oromo were a group of people from southern Ethiopia who had migrated to more northern regions in the 16th and 17th centuries. The Oromo people developed a reputation as fierce fighters, with boys receiving training to become warriors at an early age. It's thought that the invading Italian forces may have been intimidated by the Oromo Cavalry, as European press sensationalized stories about them, leading some to believe that the Oromo would castrate enemy soldiers. As a result of the crushing defeat, the Italians backed off and officially recognized Ethiopia as an independent state. As a result, Ethiopia would become the only African nation to avoid European colonization. Following the war, Menelik began his campaign to modernize Ethiopia, ending the slave trade and investing heavily in infrastructure. Under his rule, Ethiopia developed banks, a postal system, railways, plumbing, cars, telephones, and a modern education system. Late in his reign, Menelik also established Ethiopia's first cabinet of ministers to help administer the empire. This brings us to Menelik's leader bonus, Council of Ministers. This bonus gives Ethiopian cities founded on hills science and culture equal to 15% of their faith output. The hill part, of course, refers to Ethiopia's geography, while the bonuses referred to Ethiopia's religious history, as well as the idea that these ministers would help to develop Ethiopia under Menelik's rule. The bonus also provides all units +4 combat strength when fighting on hills, which again is a reference to Ethiopia's geography. Eventually, Menelik passed away in 1909, the result of a stroke which had rendered him unable to rule. He was succeeded by his wife, but no one was officially crowned Emperor of Ethiopia until Haile Selassie, who you play as in Civilization V. Ethiopia would eventually be invaded and occupied by Mussolini in World War II, but the campaign proved to be useless as Ethiopia's geography made it impossible for the Italians to truly control. With the Cold War, Ethiopia was broken up into various states with support from the US and Russia. Eventually, in 1991, the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front took the capital and established modern-day Ethiopia. Despite ongoing political unrest and ethnic violence, Ethiopia has managed to become one of the fastest-growing economies in the world, as well as one of the premier powers in Africa. Overall, Ethiopia has quite a fascinating history, and I think their civilization is thematically pretty well designed, although maybe a little one-note. My initial impressions after playing with them are that they seem very strong, especially when paired with the Void Singer's secret society. I'm not in love with their unique unit, as I feel the courser comes at sort of an awkward stage in the game, but there's no denying that they, along with the +4 hill combat bonus, makes Ethiopia very powerful, especially on defense, which is actually historically accurate. This is of course assuming you've been able to settle on hilly terrain to take advantage of Ethiopia's bonuses. They are very clearly geared for faith victories, but with Council of Ministers and their insane faith output, they're also very good at cultural playstyles as well, without having to sacrifice science. While being very dependent on terrain, I think, overall, like most of the DLC civs so far, Ethiopia seems like a top-tier civ in the game moving forward. If you made it this far, I just want to say thank you for checking this video out. If you enjoy the content, please do consider subscribing and checking out some of the other videos on my channel. Otherwise, if I got anything wrong, or you have some cool facts about Ethiopian history that I might have missed, I would love to hear from you. And also, feel free to let me know about any other civs you want me to cover. Thanks again for checking out this video, and as usual, I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.